Good morning, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem with US Arab Radio. Happy Friday to all, and thank you for listening. The election is over, and now we have to face the reality. We have a new president that will take office in January, and then we have an outgoing president who will try to finish as much of the job that he started as possible if he does any of that. The economy so far is doing okay, and inflation, we're told that is under control somewhat. The Feds dropped interest rates twice, and things looking okay. But the new president has promised to remove 20 million immigrants from the country and impose tariffs and cut taxes, all of which could have positive or negative impact on the economy. And with us today is Dr. Vivek Singh, with a professor of finance at the University of Michigan in Dearborn. Good morning, and thank you for being with us, Dr. Singh.
Thank you for having me, Khalil, once again.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure. So the economy is doing okay. I mean, I was looking at the numbers, and I'm sure you know this better than I do. And and inflation is getting better, and the growth is 2.5, which is better than most of the world. Well, how do you see it?
Yeah, I fully agree, Khalil. I mean, inflation, as we have been watching for months now, has been coming down, and it seems to be on the target to come down to 2%, which our Fed prefers as per their measure. And at the same time, the economy is still doing very well in terms of job market.
Yeah.
And but what may happen down the road, that there is some uncertainty going forward, like with the fresh election and the new president in White House. I think there are some things that going to cause some jitters,
Sure.
not only home, but more abroad too.
Yeah. Politics aside, President Biden, did not benefit from a good economy. I mean, the economy has been reeling from a pandemic, and considering where it was and where it is now, it is quite an accomplishment. But unfortunately for him, he did not benefit from that. I wonder, is it their policies, or is they just did not take advantage of it, or it did not make enough mark?
Khalil, I fully agree with you. In fact, like this has raised many questions as to what the economy should be looking at when they look at the economy. According to most economists, like the numbers, when you look at, how the job market numbers are, they were pretty good. And in fact, like considering the pandemic, I mean, when the rest of the world was struggling, US economy was going gangbusters despite everything. And inflation, though it went up, but that was largely, you can attribute it to all the gummed up supply chains, all the things which went down south because of the pandemic and all those constraints. But even that high inflation has been brought down. But the wages, even though the inflation went up, the wages almost like stayed at par with the inflation. So in real terms, actually, the inflation did go down a little bit, but not by a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
But surprisingly, President Biden did not get any credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
And my guess is, I think there is a nuanced story behind it. Like, on one hand, you can blame much of the inflation on pandemic-related supply bottlenecks, but I think President Biden has to take some blame for the last stimulus that he passed, $1.9 trillion. And in fact, like Khalil, I distinctly remember you and I talking about this.
Sure.
Yeah. And at that time, it was minority of economists, they thought that it wasn't warranted. And that did play a role. Absolutely. That did play a role in boosting the inflation. Maybe not the entire thing, but it did have a significant role.
Absolutely. We give people money they don't need, and they're gonna spend it like crazy, and that's gonna sour the whole pot.
Yeah. So that was, I think that part of the blame has to go. And I think even though the inflation has come down, but the people, what they're looking at is like how much more I'm paying in comparison to where I started from.
Yeah.
So they look at the 20%, like 25% higher than what they were paying like before when President Biden came to White House. So that is what they focus on, not on whether the inflation has come down or whether their jobs are there, which could have been not there if if Federal Reserve as well as the federal government hadn't done that stimulus as well as the monetary loosening to begin with.
Mhm. The average person basically does not really follow numbers. They just follow what's it costing me when I go to the grocery store. What is it costing me when I fill up gas? What is it costing me when I'm buying something? And to be honest with you, I didn't see much of a change there, even though inflation is really coming down and the economy is doing better. I think this is where the average person is really, and the average voter really is really looking at it in there. So, what do you think?
Yeah, Khalil, I agree. I mean, the average voter is looking at those, not these headline numbers, whether the CPI or inflation numbers are coming down. They are looking at like, how much did I pay in 2020 versus what I'm paying today? And ignoring the fact that I'm making a little more money. They don't
Sure.
care about that. And and when they look at inflation, they look at how much more I'm paying for the gas. Again, high gas prices are not the result of what happened, what has been done by President Biden. It's largely result of like pandemic as well as what's going on in Russia. But again, the consumers have to blame somebody, and it's very easy to blame the incumbent president for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think the other thing which is, Khalil, which I think which people have slowly begun to appreciate is this high interest rate, like which has kept the mortgages, and the new mortgages especially, I mean, out of reach for most Americans. So people are a little pissed that my parents' generation could easily afford a house, and now I have been pretty much because of the high home prices, but on top of that, these high mortgage rates are keeping me totally out of the market. So, and again, and why these high mortgage rates? Partly due to high interest rates. And why high interest rates? And they put part of the blame on President Biden, that stimulus. Like, had you not done it, we wouldn't have been suffering from this.
Yeah. It was puzzling. We had the first cut, which is brought down interest rates. Then we had the second cut, which is raised up interest rates.
Yeah.
And if you're getting a mortgage, instead of keep going down, it jumped up. And I really don't understand why that happened.
Yeah, Khalil, yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. I mean, typically when the interest rates are cut by the Federal Reserve, you expect that all interest rates to come down a bit. But in this case, that did not happen. In fact, the long-term interest rates, either they actually went up in comparison to what they were like a few weeks earlier when they cut the interest rates the first time. I think it's partly to do with like how the people are looking at the longer term view of the economy, where they feel that even if the President Biden were to continue, or especially when it became slightly clear that the odds are in favor of President Trump to come to White House, they felt that like all this huge fiscal deficit that we are going to have, there's all these tariffs that we have been recently talking about, or these tax cuts, which you can argue there is a bipartisan support for continuing to keep the tax cuts in place. So those are going to add to the deficit, and how do you finance those deficits? You're going to borrow money, and if you're going to borrow money, you're going to keep the interest rates high, and those tariffs are going to keep the prices high. So there is very little room going forward as far as the Fed is concerned, that they will not be, even if they want to cut down the interest rates, it's going to be very hard for them. They have to really think many times before they even want to cut down 25 basis points. So I'm guessing right now, yeah.
Do you think it seems like some people would say that they were not aggressive enough. People expected more drastic cut than half a point and quarter of a point. Like why are they being so cautious if we're doing well? They just were not really aggressive enough.
So Khalil, actually, I'm supportive of what they have been doing. I think they need to be very, very cautious, even though the headline numbers are coming down. But I think you can easily see that the inflation may still spike very quickly. So I think it's better to err on the side of the caution, especially like when you see that the economy is holding up very well. If the economy was like getting into maybe at the cusp of recession, if people are losing jobs, then you may argue that, okay, I think there is more room to cut the interest rates. But if the economy is still holding up uh, and there is still fear of recession, inflation on the horizon, I think it's better to be cautious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Slower is better in this case.
Slower is better, especially with the strong economy that we have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What we're going to do, Dr. Singh, is we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Michigan's winter forecast is snow, snow, and more snow. And for a little variety, ice. Since that means slippery roads, stay safe by following these driving tips. Don't use cruise control on ice and snow. Use turn signals sooner to give others more time to react. Keep your car's fluids, tires, and wipers well maintained. And most important of all, drive slow on ice and snow. A message from the Michigan Office of Highway Safety Planning.
With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at one of America's best fertility clinics, call IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio toll-free at 855-952-9600. 855-952-9600.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem. We're talking to Dr. Vivek Singh of the University of Michigan Dearborn. We're talking about the outlook for next year and then the current economic situation. Some of the proposals that President Trump is proposing, from an economic point of view, and this is not my expertise, but they seem to be, number one, removing 20 million immigrants seems to be very drastic. Is going to affect the working market. These are the people who are doing the works in America. All the jobs, those jobs that Americans don't want to do. Whether it is in agriculture or in the menial jobs or all those different jobs, that should have an inverse, or shouldn't it, impact on the economy.
I couldn't agree more, Khalil. This is a fear, but my guess is 20 million is a number which is being talked about as more of a action stunt rather than the actual number. I think it's going to be very difficult to throw 20 million people, even if they really wanted to do. But I agree, they would be able to devote quite a few of them. If that were to happen, you're definitely shrinking the labor supply. And especially these are those labor, like those are working at very low wages, which are keeping the prices very low. And on top of that, these people are doing those jobs, as you correctly said, which are not done by Americans. So if these people leave, even if we can find, in theory, some people to do this job, we have to pay much higher wages to those people.
Yeah.
And higher wages will mean more prices for average Americans. And keeping the inflation, instead of reducing the inflation is going to go up, and keeping the interest rates high and mortgage rates high, and which is not going to benefit anyone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It just amazes me because right now, the head, the head lettuce is costing me in Michigan to travel from California. It's all the way here. It's costing me $2, and the reason it costs me $2 is because somebody is willing to take very little an hour to pick it. And if we're gonna pay $20 an hour for somebody to pick it, it may cost me $10.
Yes, absolutely. I think this is being missed. But my guess is I think it will not be 20 million people who are going to be deported right away. It's going to be much smaller number.
Yeah.
And eventually, I think the president is surrounded by a lot of very smart people. I mean, they are economists and they are Wall Street bankers. They understand that if we really follow through this promise, it's going to wreak havoc to the economy.
Yeah. Let's hope that he listens to them. I mean, this is the same president who suggested that people drink bleach to kill the COVID virus. So, let's hope that he listens to them. My fear is that poisoning the whole labor atmosphere, even if he does not remove that large number, people are going to be timid if they're here illegally to do any work.
No, Khalil, but my guess is, I think that is the whole strategy behind it. I think they want to put some fear in the hearts and minds of people, those who have been bypassing the legal system of immigration to the country. So that's the idea. In the long run, I think they need to come up with some legal way of inviting these people, not just the highly skilled people, but the people, as you said, these people, those who are doing these very menial jobs, which are generally not done by Americans. So that is the long-term solution. But in the short run, I think it's going to be very bad for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I've written about this for years and years, and I've always seen it as the success of this immigrant story is how we manage it, not how we prevent it. And managing this is very important because both sides can benefit from this.
No, I agree, Khalil, but I think there is some truth to the fact that in the last 4 years, I think we pretty much lost control of the borders. I mean, you can make a case that I'm an immigrant. I came to this country from India, and I had to wait for several years before I got my citizenship. I came to this country in say 99, and I became citizen in 2011. So I had to wait for this 11 to 12 years, and I had to jump through all the hoops. And I have mixed feelings when I hear that somebody just crosses the border and uses the word political persecution, and he stays in the country for 7-8 years, and we pay for everything, and after that, that person disappears in the system. So it feels sort of unfair to the people who followed the law.
Sure.
So absolutely. I think that is part of the reason why people from all demographics, they did not go for Kamala Harris. They went slightly in favor of President Trump. So I think there is something wrong. But I agree at the same time that deporting 20 million people will not just wreak havoc to the economy. It's not even human, and it's going to involve huge costs. Deporting $20 million is not going to be cheap, even if you are able to do it.
Yeah. He said he's going to use the army and the military and so forth and so on, but still there's tremendous cost there. And, definitely something needs to be done about it, but I don't think that is the answer. At the same time, as you well know, it's easy to blame our problems on an issue that's so complicated like immigration and blame the incumbent president for it. And people who don't understand it, they're going to say, yeah, that's true. Look what's going on, so it's more of a political thing.
It is. Yeah.
The other thing that he promised is tariffs. He wanted to impose drastic tariffs on foreign goods, and I studied tariffs very well when I was going for my master's degree. Tariffs don't work.
No.
Tariff, they just add the cost of tariffs
Yes.
are actually a form of a war. And a lot of people don't understand that. If you declare tariffs on somebody, you declare a war on somebody. And we have to pay the cost.
Oh, Khalil, I mean, any sane economist would agree with that proposition that tariff is bad for everyone, not just for the country which is imposing them, but also for those people who are being burdened with these kind of tariffs. It doesn't help anyone not even in the short run. Actually, in the long run, like, it causes very deep damages all across the system. But having said that, Khalil, I think the idea right now is, of all the countries like which can withstand tariffs, I think America is perhaps the one which is most insulated, like given the large size of our domestic economy. I think that is the thinking which is going, that like we're going to suffer, but we're not going to suffer as much. And at the same time, I think there is also a feeling. I'm just playing a devil's advocate, right?
Sure.
So another thinking is that if the tariffs go up, and with these interest rates, the prices go up and the interest rates remaining high, the dollar will remain high. And as you might have seen, the dollar has started going up against all major currencies. So the thinking is like, okay, all these things are going to cost less that we're going to import from outside. But so there is some moderating effect of imposing tariffs, that like we are not going to be affected as much, because much greater share of our GDP comes from domestic consumption, domestic investment. Secondly, like we're going to reduce some cost because our dollar is going to become stronger. But the flip side is obviously, as you said, like is going to raise prices for
Yes.
most Americans.
Yeah.
Like not just for the finished goods, but also for those intermediate goods which we are importing.
Yeah.
And what happens to the rest of the world? Like, I mean, we're not just importing, we are exporting too. So with strong dollar, we will be at a competitive disadvantage to export those things. And when those countries don't have income, how are they going to buy our stuff?
Yeah.
So it's
For somebody who really got a lot of votes because he campaigned on the fact that things cost too much. And these two proposals that he has made, both of them stand to drive prices up. It
yeah.
just does not make any sense to me, unless it is only campaign talks.
Yeah. I don't think it's campaign talk, Khalil. I think he's going to follow through on that. Like, but I don't know whether 60% kind of tariff on China and across the board 10% on everyone, that would work out. But my guess is like this will be a starting bargaining position, and he's going to negotiate. He likes to go into bilateral sort of negotiations. My guess is he's going to make a deal with China. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. So what are you going to do in return? And they'll come to some sort of agreement with that.
What's the biggest fear of China?
In terms of economics, or like in terms
Economics.
Yeah. So as far as China is concerned, like they can opt, they have very, quite frankly, like, I mean, America has not much to fear from China as of now, given that like they are far more dependent on US than US is on that as of now. But I think the bigger fear of China, like, is like, along with the rest of the world, is like, because of if those countries are not able to export as much, not just in the US or elsewhere, I think the entire world may get into recession. Like, so that's a big fear. But the US, as I said earlier, like, I mean, US can afford to do all this, at least for some period of time, because we are rather insulated, and we enjoy this huge exorbitant power in terms of this US dollar as our reserve currency that we don't have to worry.
Sure. I mean, most of the labor intensive small stuff are made in China, and we've come to depend on that. We don't make them here, and if we're going to start to make them here, that's going to take some time. So we have to import it anyway. I mean, I know I know that China, can find a way around it and make him sound like they were made in Vietnam, which they've done that before, you know.
Yeah.
But still, it's just it's going to add to cost. Adding to cost, it means it's going to drive prices up.
No, absolutely. I mean, those things like they don't even make sense to to be made in the US anymore. Like, who's going to pay like $20 for a simple thing which we can buy for say $2 at Walmart? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
You know, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
even if you want to reduce long-term dependency on China, like which is sort of the factory of the world, like it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take decades.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
If
We've seen what they're trying to do with the semiconductors.
yeah,
They're not even close to getting that started, and that was started like 4 years ago.
yeah,
Takes
and
a long time to do that.
and that happens to be a very high value sort of product, which is expensive, like which needs technology and like very technical know-how, high technical know-how. And if you talk about those simple stuff that ordinary consumers consume on a day-to-day basis, like it's like that, it doesn't make any economic sense to bring them back to US.
Yeah. The third thing he was talking about is cutting taxes. I don't know what kind of taxes he's talking about cutting.
So Khalil, like I mean, there are obviously those many of the provisions of 2017 tax act that he put in place, like they are going to expire unless the Congress were to do something. So they're going to expire fairly soon in I think 2025. So things like those, the low personal taxes, those higher standard deductions, and things like the 100% expenses for capital expenditure. So those are the things on the table, and some of that should be renewed. Some of that like need to look at like whether they should be renewed or not. But I'm of the belief actually that some of that is really good. I mean, I continue to believe that like I think that it did add to the fiscal deficit, absolutely. So that would still be the case. But overall, I still think that it's pro growth. I mean, it did generate like a lot of investment in the US by companies, and it did help in growth of stock markets, like by increasing the profits of these companies, which in turn like lead to high stock prices. So, and even the lower taxes that people enjoyed, that did help most consumers, most ordinary Americans. So this is one area I think where my guess is he will not face much of opposition from the Congress, but I think this definitely like it's going to add to fiscal deficit, so that's a concern. Like so, it's a very delicate thing. Like on one hand, it makes sense to continue, but at the same time, the growth that is going to generate may not be enough to cut down the deficit. It's going to add to the deficit, so that's the worry. So we have to find like cost reductions elsewhere. I mean, I'm hoping that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who have been tasked with reducing expenses in the federal government, they will find some reduction in the expenses some way, so that we can at least pass the good parts of this tax cut, or keep these good parts in place.
Unless they bring their own money, I don't know how they can do that. I really do.
They're not going to.
I really don't. I mean, they're talking about basically firing all of the civil servants and get rid of the whole bureaucracy. Who's going to do the work? I mean, what kept America stable is that you have these civil servants. I understand they're not highly efficient, but these are nonpartisan. They do the work. Presidents come and go, but these are, they just do the work and move on. And this is what keeps the country going. Messing with that, doesn't seem like it's a good idea politically, and not politically, economically and socially.
Yeah, Khalil, you have a point, but at the same time, again, playing devil's advocate, like we can't disregard the fact that there are inefficiencies in the system. So I think there's something needs to be done. I was just reading like this morning that our Department of Defense has been audited for how they are spending their money, like which is they get the lion's share of federal budget. My guess is, I think, $800 billion or something. And they have failed the audit 7 years in a row. In other words, they have no clue. Largely, they have no clue how they're spending the $800 billion.
Must be
So
nice.
yeah, so which is really a cause for concern that like there are certain departments which are grossly inefficient. And I can tell you personally, like I have some friends, those who make a lot of money being government contractors. And they privately tell me that, like, Vivek, it's very easy to make money because these systems are outdated. The procurement systems are so outdated that you can keep selling these stuffs and you can keep jacking up the prices. Nobody cares because it's not their money.
Yeah.
But I fully see your point that like you can't go too far. I mean, these people do a good job, a good work, as we saw during the pandemic. Like, I mean, they really saved us. Right?
It amazes me. I can't tell you how many times I've done this story on a new politician who comes in on the city level and saying there's a fat here, there's a spending here, and then after they make the cuts a year later, they find out, oops, we really need those services. Then they bring them back. So, but I'm sure at that large scale there may be some a deficiency there that they can not efficient enough, and they can really tighten that.
Yeah, I agree, Khalil. But like what I'm giving the benefit of doubt to the department, like the newly created department, that maybe they can find some inefficiencies. They can cut down the wasteful expenditure. But I'm fully in agreement that like getting rid of civil servants or like making them work at the behest of the president, I think that's going to cause a lot of political interference in the whole work. Like, I mean, we want these executives to be apolitical, but like if they have to listen to whoever is in the power, like you run a chance of corrupting the whole system, which may not be good.
Yeah. Finally, what's your outlook for 2025?
I remain cautiously optimistic, Khalil, because I believe that at the end of the day, like we have enough checks and balances in the system that one person alone, or even a party, like even by controlling, say, both the houses of Congress as well as Senate, they will not be able to do much. So I think there are enough smart people surrounding President Trump. So I think we will be in good shape. I feel more optimistic given the fact that we already survived first 4 years, which even he did not expect to win. He did not have, he did not even know like who to appoint. He was firing people almost on a weekly basis. But this time he has, barring a few exceptions, he has picked right people like for most jobs. And I think we will be fine. And so I remain optimistic as far as the US is concerned.
Yeah. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and hopefully, things will get better for everyone, and that some of the promises will be fulfilled. And I think it'll be better for everyone.
Thank you, Khalil, for having me once again. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Hey, Michigan, let's think beyond the sink and learn where the water your family drinks every day comes from. Private wells and public water supplies allow homes across Michigan to draw water from different sources, like lakes, rivers, and groundwater. Tap into the facts about your home's water source and learn about your home's water quality to protect your family's health. Visit michigan.gov/care for MI drinking water. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493. At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem with US Arab Radio. As you well know by now, if you've heard anybody sniffling around you, flu season started, and it is in the fall, and it gets worse later on as we get into January, February, but you can hear people sniffling now. And with us this morning is Dr. Mariam Saleh. She's a physician in the area, and she is here to give us an update on the flu season and COVID and RSV. Good morning, Dr. Saleh, and thank you for being with us.
Good morning, Khalil. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us a little about you and a little about the urgent care in Commerce Township.
So I am a family physician. I did 2 years of primary care, then went to urgent care. I've been medical director of AFC Urgent Care in Commerce for about 2 years now. I'm also the only physician there. And as you can imagine, especially with the cold season, we've been seeing a lot more upticks in flu, COVID, RSV, all of those fun viruses that like to make an appearance now.
Sure. Now, the urgent care at Commerce, that's a full-time urgent care with a full-time physician. And what other services you offer there?
So apart from urgent care services, we do point of care testing. We can do blood work and send out. We also offer immigration physicals. I am a civil surgeon. We do DOT physicals. We do a lot of other things.
What's DOT?
Department of Transportation.
Okay.
They need those gentlemen and ladies need physicals, and they need them done every 2 years at least.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. So what's the update on the flu?
So compared to last year, it's considered now moderately severe. As a lot of people think the flu is just something that they can tolerate at home, but it actually contributes to about 15 million office visits. It can lead to about 38,000 hospitalizations and contribute to about 17,000 deaths. This year, we just started October, November. I have had my share of flu A. There's 2 different types of strains we test for. Flu A is associated with more respiratory. Flu B is associated with more stomach. Mm-hmm. Both of them are treated with the same thing, but it's important if you feel like you have the flu and you're sick enough, come in within the first 3 days, because that's when you qualify for treatment. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the best way to prevent from getting so sick is to get the vaccine.
Okay. Yeah. And how accurate this year is the vaccine? Every year, as you well know, the vaccine is a different degree of accuracy.
Mm-hmm. So that has not come out yet, but if we're going by last year's data, it was 50 to 60% accurate. Yes.
Which is not bad, really, actually.
Which is actually excellent.
Yeah. Now, this data and information, excuse me, is based on also what happens in the southern hemisphere as well, because they get the flu before we do. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And the flu vaccine, there's a misconception. Some people think it's a live virus, which it's not.
It is not a live virus.
How does it work in the body?
It essentially causes your body to react as if you do have the flu, but you don't. We're not giving you the flu.
Sure.
We're mounting an immune response so that when your body actually gets exposed to the flu, it already has those antibodies to protect it from them.
To protect
You
it
don't
from the
get.
flu. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Who are most at risk when it comes to the flu? Younger bodies, strong bodies may fend it off, but who are most at risk?
Honestly, you're looking at your infants, so new ones, new littles, and then anyone over 65, as well as those who have chronic medical conditions. So those are your patients with high blood pressure, diabetes, lung disease, smokers. So if you have any of those conditions, you're older or you have little ones, I highly encourage you to get the vaccine. I encourage everyone to get the vaccine, but especially those.
Sure. What are the complications for the infants and those over 65 if they get ill and they don't have the vaccine?
You're risking hospitalization and potentially death. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know this, but you can die from the flu.
Yeah. And the way you die is respiratory, the lungs?
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it eventually leads to something called septic shock. And organ failure.
Yeah. Where does pneumonia come in here?
There is something called secondary pneumonia from the flu. It's actually very, very dangerous. It can lead to, again, hospitalization and death, and it usually needs IV antibiotics to treat.
Yeah. Do you recommend those groups to wear anything if they're in public?
If you are sick and you have a fever, I highly recommend wearing a mask if you need to go out. But I encourage you to stay home until you're at least fever-free.
How long is the duration for the virus in the body?
Usually 5 to 7 days. But symptomatic wise, as long as you, again, do not have a fever without any intervention, you're okay to go out, but just be cautious and practice good hand hygiene.
Okay. Most people don't get sick from the flu shot. Yeah. They're not supposed to unless they're allergic to something.
Yes. And we do have, even those with like egg allergies are still safe to take the vaccine.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does egg have to do with the vaccine?
So back in the day, they used to, I believe, make something of the vaccine with the egg content. And that's why there was like this whole debacle about like, I have an egg allergy. I cannot take this. But no, you can.
Sure.
We just have to watch you. You can.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else about the flu I haven't asked you people need to know?
No, except that I would highly encourage you to get vaccinated for it and practice good hand hygiene.
Yeah. Do you offer the vaccine?
We do. Yes, we do for both young adults, and then for those over 65, you need the high dose. We have both of those.
Oh, okay. So there are different doses for the vaccine? Okay.
For ages, yep.
Yeah.
And anyone 6 months and older can get it.
Yeah. And those are in between, you recommend they take it as well to protect those who are the elderly and the infants.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. All right. And now COVID, even though we don't hear much about it, but it's still there,
It is, unfortunately, it is. It's not going away. It's going to be a yearly thing now.
Yeah. So, I remember not long ago, a couple of weeks ago, I took both the vaccines, the flu and the COVID. You can take them both together, right?
Yes.
I hope I did the right thing.
Yes. No. I mean, if you think about it, we give our kids like 5 vaccines at once. So, of course, we adults can get 2 vaccines. Yeah.
Where are the numbers now when it comes to COVID?
I actually checked yesterday. They are trending down, which is good. However, it's still ever present. And the thing now you worry about is catching it and getting long COVID, which we don't know much about. We're still learning about.
What's long COVID?
Long COVID is like lingering symptoms, and they can range from like this cough that won't go away to something called POTS, which is a postural orthostatic hypertension, or hypertension tachycardia, which is a fancy word for saying you get up really fast and your heart rate just shoots up. It's very uncomfortable. It's something we're still studying. It's not very well understood, but it's associated now with long haul COVID, and it's a very, very difficult way to live.
Yeah. Do you expect the numbers to go up as people gather together during the holidays?
Inside, absolutely. Yeah, we've been blessed with very nice weather here in Michigan so far. But now that it's starting to get colder, especially with flu season, COVID's gonna go up too. Just it's gonna be the natural occurrence now. Um, Thankfully, from what I've seen in patients, they're not as sick, even the older ones, but you still worry and it can
Yeah,
still
yeah,
cause problems.
yeah, yeah. And there are more than one vaccine. I mean, we're used to two of them, but now
Yeah,
there's a lot more varieties for COVID. Is that correct?
that is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Again, you don't get sick from that, but it just offers you that protection.
Yep, it gives you the immune response you need to protect you against getting super sick from COVID.
Yeah. You also offer that at the center.
AFC, we do not actually. That's the
Oh,
one
okay.
vaccine we don't. No, we don't
Yeah.
offer that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. RSV, what is that and why should we worry about it?
So RSV stands for respiratory syncytial virus. It is everyone, we probably had it by the time we were 2 years old. Every kid is gonna have it, but you worry about it in the infants again and in those over 60 years old. Because again, like flu, it can make them very sick and require hospitalization, oxygen, and in some extreme cases, death. So I
Who
highly
should
encourage you guys to, yeah,
who
go
should get
ahead.
the vaccine for that?
So anyone over 75 right now, there's a vaccine that came out. I encourage them to get it. And then anyone 60 to 74 years old who has chronic medical conditions, I encourage you. And then for the kiddos, I encourage any woman who's pregnant to get the vaccine to protect her child. Yeah.
Okay. So if she's pregnant, the child automatically becomes immune to it when here
Yes,
they're
they
born?
pass through. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. Now, I'm sure as a physician, you're concerned, over the time of COVID, and I always like to mention this because I would like people to really listen to and learn from this. The fact that there were a lot of bad information about vaccines, and a lot of
Yeah.
kids didn't take the necessary vaccines, you know.
Yeah.
So how concerned are you about that?
Honestly, I remember during the COVID time period feeling very frustrated. But also I tried to remain empathetic and try to respect, parents' autonomy for their children. Of course, like they're afraid for their kids and they're afraid of like introducing something that they don't know much about. So I do recognize that, but at the same time, there could have been so much prevention and reduction in hospitalizations, had everyone who could have gotten vaccinated get vaccinated.
Yeah.
I do think now that it's been out there a few years, I feel like people are more open to it, and I highly encourage them to get vaccinated. But I do think some damage has been done, especially in the age of social media and things
Yeah.
just going around. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know, whether it is about the flu, the COVID, RSV, or any other medical issues that people need to know about?
Honestly, I would just encourage people to practice good hand hygiene and just recognize that 1 to 2 days of symptoms does not necessarily equate to the need to antibiotics. I get a lot of patients coming and asking for antibiotics on 2 days of symptoms, and I educate them and let them know you probably have some sort of virus. It's gonna pass. Because I do feel like there's an uptick in antibiotic resistance, and eventually
Okay.
we're gonna run out of things to prescribe because there's people over prescribing and
Yeah.
patients wanting it. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the immigration services that you provide.
So I am considered a civil surgeon. What that means is I am registered on the United States immigration website to do a physical on patients seeking a green card here. What that entails is a complete physical and complete medical history. It also, we do blood work. Patients over the age of 15 need to get tested for tuberculosis, gonorrhea, and syphilis. And then they need to show proof of certain vaccinations. They can either get those vaccinations at like a pharmacy, or we can do blood work to prove immunity against them. And we do offer that service.
Okay.
It usually takes about 1 hour, and we get results within a week. So most of the time, I'm able to complete everything within the week.
Yeah. So basically, somebody who's applying for a green card or citizenship, correct me if I'm wrong, are
Yes, no, you're right.
required to provide this medical information, and then they can come to you, and you guys can take care of them in one place.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. For a fee, of course.
Yes, yeah. There is a fee. Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned the driving service as well. Is it the DOT?
Yes.
Okay. What is that? The similar thing you're required to?
It is a similar thing. It doesn't require as much blood work. It just requires our urine to test for diabetes to see if there's any blood sugar in there. But that is just a simple visit. It's complete physical, making sure their blood pressure is appropriate, making sure their vision's intact, and doing, again, a complete physical, as well as going over their medications if they take any. And then they can either not qualify for 6 months, qualify for 1 year, or qualify for the max of 2 years. And then that one, I believe any day you come in, because it doesn't just have to be me, because the civil surgeon, I have to be the only one that does that. But the other one, the DOT, any one of my practitioners can do that one.
Okay. What makes your urgent care different than others?
I want to say a lot of urgent cares are staffed only by PAs and NPs, but I'm pretty much available there, like, as the main physician. So I think there's that. Our urgent care is also huge. It has 6 rooms, a procedure room, lab work, and we're very X-ray room. We have a variety of services compared to other urgent cares.
Yeah.
Particularly the immigration. Not a lot of urgent cares do that one.
Yeah. And having more rooms means less waiting.
Exactly. Yeah. We have a very good wait time. Yes.
Yeah. Could you give us the address and then the phone number? How can people reach you?
Of course. The address is 39450 West 14 Mile Road in Commerce Township.
Okay.
And the phone number is 248-864-0010.
Yeah. Is that near Haggerty? I don't, if I recall well.
Exactly. It is near Haggerty. Yes.
Yeah, not in a corner of Haggerty and another street. I don't remember the street. There's a shopping center.
I believe it is 14 Mile and Haggerty.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's by Kroger. It's in the Kroger Plaza. Yeah.
Yeah. Could you give us the phone number one more time, please, if you don't mind?
Of course. 248-864-0010.
Wonderful. Thank you. Dr. Mariam Saleh with us, and we really appreciate your help and giving us an update on COVID, and good luck to you and all the services that you offer. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Thank you so much.
Every Thursday in Michigan at 5 p.m., award-winning columnist and journalist Ray Hanania hosts the Ray Hanania Radio Show, presented by the U.S. Arab Radio Network on WNZK AM 690 Radio, and brought to you by Arab News Newspaper. Ray focuses on the hot topics of the day, including topics about what impacts Arabs and Muslims in America and the Middle East. Join us every Thursday at 5 p.m. on WNZK AM 690 Radio for the Ray Hanania Radio Show, presented by the U.S. Arab Radio Network. Shows are rebroadcast each Monday at 5 p.m. Get to know more about the show at arabnews.com.
New Concept Production and Design، رائدة إعداد وتجهيز المطاعم والمطابخ بالمعدات بشكل كامل، غرف التبريد والثلاجات. يمكننا مساعدتكم في الحصول على التمويل اللازم لمشروعكم، وكذا الحصول على الإجازات اللازمة من الدوائر الصحية. نخدمكم بخبرة 25 عاما. ناجي عبود، صديقكم الدائم. للاتصال الهاتف رقم 248-442-9292 وتماما على 33900 West 8 Mile Farmington Hills. للمزيد من التفاصيل زيارة الموقع الإلكتروني www.nuconceptproducts.com.
Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bonham, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights. The U.S. Arab Radio Network is the largest Arab and Muslim radio network in America, broadcasting throughout the Midwest region Monday through Friday on WNZK AM 690. U.S. Arab Radio features Arabic and English language programming on every topic, from health, food, and culture to government, politics, and legal issues. Listen live to U.S. Arab Radio in Michigan, Toledo, Ohio, and Windsor, Canada on WNZK AM 690. And in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia on WDMV 700 AM. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. So join us every day on the U.S. Arab Radio Network and check out our website at www.arabradio.us.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. I would like to thank Dr. Vivek Singh for being with us this morning. I also like to thank Dr. Mariam Saleh for being with us as well. It looks like it's going to be a very challenging year. It depends on what the new administration would do as far as economics. And again, slapping tariffs on foreign goods is going to increase the price of goods being sold here, and it's going to defeat what everybody has hoped for, that the new administration would eventually bring prices down. The economy has been good, but it did not translate into savings at the grocery store or the gas station or the things that we buy every day. And, removing 20 million immigrants and slapping tariffs on foreign goods is not going to help. That is going to make it even more challenging. We hope that the new president, President Trump, and the Congress, what they call the trifecta, which is majority of Republicans in the Senate, majority of Republicans in the House, and then the president, are all Republicans. So they have no excuse of not doing what really preached to do during the campaign, and then putting America on a better economic track. As far as hopefully that things will work out. As far as health, we urge you to, if you're in a risk for getting sick or have any health issues, just talk to your doctor and inquire about the flu vaccine, and inquire about other vaccines as well. And even if you don't want to take a vaccine, practice healthy living so you can be healthy and don't have to deal with COVID and don't have to deal with flu. Take your precautions, and then make sure that your family is protected. Lastly, I just want to add a couple more things in regard to the housing market. We're expecting a very good housing market next year, assuming that everything stays the same as far as the economy continues to improve. If the economy does not improve and then we lose jobs, then things may not work out. But as far as we know, 2025 is going to be really a good year as far as real estate. If you have any questions regarding real estate, please don't hesitate. Give me a call, 313-819-0101, 313-819-0101. If you're buying or selling, commercial or residential, we do both. So we ask you to give us a call. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have. There is a great demand for commercial. There's also demand for housing. If you own a home and you want to sell it, this is still a good time to sell. Great time to sell, actually. If you need a home, you need to buy a home, and you need to have a home. Buying a home right now is better than buying a home later, because if interest rates go down, then the price of homes will go up. If you buy a home now, you will refinance later and you'll be okay in the long term. Again, if you have any questions, 313-819-0101. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for our team. Thank you, Mike, for a great production. And thank you to all our guests. And thank you to all of you listeners. And have a wonderful weekend.